So we heard a little bit about this harm, what are the strategies for harm reduction? And I actually think it would be super helpful if folks had a framework to think through the risk of the activities that they're thinking about engaging in over the summer as they think about trying to plan some kind of a road trip versus air travel to see family, or, so I want to just hear from each of
Amanda.
you. Yeah, what's on your list for how to think about the risks that you're taking as you make decisions?
I'll start. You guys can add, I'm sure. I think we can think about it, almost on a risk spectrum where we know the safest thing is to stay home. That's where we cut off most of our contacts and risks, but that's not sustainable, right, in the long term likely. And we are entering or exiting this safer at home environment to one where we have an array of choices now that we have to pick from. So how do we choose, what to do? So we've had a few great posts from our other nerdy girls this week. So I will give a plug to checking those out too. And I'll try to summarize some of those points. We can think about generally the environments that we're in, like we already alluded to, right? So being indoors in a space where you can't social distance properly and people aren't wearing masks, that's going to be a high risk environment versus outdoors, more space between people wearing masks, right? And then when you have to make a choice about, well, I'd like to get together with some friends, then an outdoor environment will maybe be a less riskier option for that activity than having a dinner party inside your house, right? And then we can think about sort of the proximity you are to people and for how long you are in contact with people as well. So where you have those chances to modify one of those characteristics, that can decrease your risk in what you're doing. And then we can think of pooled risk. This was a topic that came up on a post this week where if you do want to start to get together with people, choosing people who've had similar caution that they've been taking in their interactions, your pooled risk then becomes lower, right? Mm-hmm. That's a technique that we can think of. Like, I just really want to get together with my neighbors, but those neighbors have gotten together with 10 other families this week. Maybe that's not you have to think about your pooled risk in that way. And then we can think about this, I can't remember the article that was posted on this, but they talked about cumulative risk too. So like, I need to get my hair cut. Anybody see this great? I need to get my, hair done. And I also want to go see my mother-in-law and maybe an example, so what can we do to space out those activities that we're doing over a week or 2 weeks so that we're not clustering a bunch of higher risk activities together at the same time? And, if we do have to engage in something more risky because we don't really have a choice, then maybe waiting for a while to do that again. So you can see and watch and monitor for symptoms, to see, before you go out and maybe go into environments that you are going to potentially expose others because you had no choice but to do this other thing. Those would be some of my ideas, but you guys chime in.
I think that's great. And I'm just going to make a plug that in the spirit of amplifying female voices, Amanda was alluding to a really wonderful article in the Washington Post by Dr. Leanna Wynn.
That's who it was.
Yeah. Highly recommended. And we did push that out on Dear Pandemic too. Yeah. Maybe, was it yesterday? All the days.
All the days.
Yesterday. And then today we put out a graphic by two other really awesome people who we would think are nerdy girls as well, right? And so that's, something we're keen on doing when we identify really solid public health messaging or science. Our goal is to elevate that to our Dear Pandemic audience and say, don't bother looking for anything else. We found it. Look at this,